What's considered very serious in your country that other nationalities may find quite funny? In South African we call traffic lights robots. I've heard of tourists having directions explained to them and then not being able to follow them because they didn't see an actual robot on the street. I am an American living in Tokyo, Japan. If you talk on your phone on the train, subway, bus here, especially foreign people, you will get the stink eye from every single person around you. There are posters throughout stations all over the city regarding train etiquette. It's rude to talk on your cell phone, and very rude to apply makeup, but we can walk around in the streets with open containers of alcohol, so whatevs. On the flip side, I would say that most other countries are very serious about protecting their leaders, but Australia is quite lax about it. I'm thinking in particular of people in Australia being able to approach the Prime Minister, Governor General, etc., and give them a handshake, etc. One of our previous prime ministers drowned once, whilst he was in office. No one really noticed at the time, and his body was never recovered. Also, does anyone remember when some schoolboys in Sydney gave John Howard a hug whilst he was out on his walk, and they found out later that one of them was holding a screwdriver? In Ukraine, women with period are forbidden to walk into church. My friend is a photographer and was to photograph an infant baptism ceremony. The priest specifically asked her if she was having a menstruation. To be fair, that is in the Bible, so they're actually reading it. Still doesn't make it less retarded. I'm from former Yugoslavia and we take draft very seriously. Seriously, draft will get you sick, then you die. It is that simple. Draft is considered to be the silent killer in other Slavic countries too, but I can only speak to us. We avoid sitting in a drafty place in a room like the plague. Draft will get you sick like this. Snaps fingers. Wear undershirts, children. I saw a documentary quite a while ago that had a small tidbit about South American tribes not being attracted to breasts, and laughed at the mere thought of American men loving them. The women in the tribe who heard this compared American men to babies. It was pretty shocking to me. Motherfucking gum in Singapore. That crap is illegal. Man, I remember the excitement of smuggling in some Wrigley's from Malaysia. Thug life. In my country we swear with diseases, whereas in the Anglophone countries C might be offensive. In the Netherlands things only start to get ugly after you call someone a cancer W. True story. Island. Our national identity. We take it quite seriously, but it would appear that the outside world prefers to see us as a small island inhabited only by drunken, child molesting, leprechaun priests, which frankly, is perfectly accurate. We're just defensive. In Spain the word coger, coger, means to grab or get, and they use it for everything. Grab a taxi, grab a beer, etc. But in Central and South America, coger means to frick. So imagine a Spanish speaker from the Americas coming to Spain and hearing things like, hey, can you frick me that paper, let's frick a taxi, etc. Not exactly serious versus non-serious, but it's the first thing that came to mind for me. The same happens with Dutch and Flemish sometimes. Pope, noun, Dutch fesses versus Flemish buttocks, popen, verb, defecate versus frick, lopen, to walk versus to run, stappen, to step versus to walk. In Dutch, however, it's often a colloquialism for going out, for a drink, etc. While in the Army US we used the term smoke, meaning to inflict punishment via copious amounts of awkward exercise upon anyone who was of lesser rank. This became a problem while having a conversation with some British troops who asked us if we had any F. Apparently a F is a cigarette in the UK. Conversely, in the US F is a derogatory label for persons of a homosexual lifestyle, which was not really acceptable in the 1997 US Army. We responded that we thought we had a few and the Brits asked if they could borrow them. This, of course, rose a few eyebrows and I timidly asked, borrow them for what? To smoke. Of course, they responded. Now, at this time in the Army's history hazing was acceptable, but I was pretty sure that smoking soldiers just because we thought they were F was against the rules. I can only imagine what my face looked like as I desperately tried to find words. After some more awkward conversation we finally worked it all out and gladly shared our smokes. Our F we kept for ourselves. I lived in Madagascar for a year and, to be honest, I don't even know where to start. Here's a list of a few oddities. On certain days you cannot acknowledge the existence of salt. You must never pass an egg from one person to the next. It must always be placed on a surface and then picked up by the recipient. If you ever drive past a grave, you must hold on to the index finger of your left hand and grip it tight. If you drive past a car accident, instead of helping, you have to tut in disapproval. I know, bizarre. Chameleons should be treated with suspicion. There are a load of other strange traditions to do with dead people, but I don't want to bore anyone. No. These are freaking bizarre. Keep going, man. In my country, you can only have one birth, or you shall face the consequences. Finland, sauna culture. A group of people sit butt naked in a room with an insanely hot temperature, usually around 80-120 C. Throw water on the heater to produce even more heat. Whip each other with tree branches. Drink. Sing silly songs and feel absolutely merry and patriotic about it. If it's the winter you might go skinny dipping in the snow during the refill breaks as well. German here. We recycle all the things and people who don't do so are looked at strange. Owning a car is serious business as it is the main indicator of your social status, at least for some people. Lived in Belgium. They take this recycling crap seriously. The red sticker on your bin bags was the utmost mark of shame. Teenage pregnancy rates. P on mainstream TV. Having lived in Netherlands for several years, British attitudes to these things are very funny to them. Not at all funny, but in South Africa some poverty-stricken youth are stealing and smoking of antiretroviral drugs aka HIV medication from HIV patients to get high, or even worse, they are intentionally getting infected with HIV in order to get free OVs from the government for such consumption. That's just utterly fricked up. American here. We take personal space very seriously. If you're talking with an American, you're probably best standing at least an arm's length away, much closer than that, and you'll find the other person stepping back or becoming very uncomfortable, if not downright hostile. Other cultures are much more comfortable with less distance, and Americans as a whole are usually fairly easygoing, so this is a kind of silly and easily overlooked thing that can cause needless drama discomfort. Stay the frick out of my personal space. We don't have hamsters in Australia. They are illegal to own or import, as they'd supposedly pose a credible invasive species threat. This must not be. Refusing an additional drink, even if you are hammered as frick already, is insulting. Elections are a joke, though we all talk about it all the time and everyone knows they are not fair in any way. We don't give enough frick to actually do something. Breaking traffic laws, speeding, crossing lines you shouldn't cross and such, is considered to be normal behavior by anyone but the police. If there's a guest in your house, he should be sleeping in the best bed possible, even if the host is forced to sleep on the floor. Feeding your guest is a must, even if you've just returned from a restaurant. Also, it is quite rude to not finish your meal when you're a guest, as if you're implying that the food isn't tasty. Say, in China, it's rude to eat it all because then the host would be concerned that you're still hungry. Usually, though this one isn't as strong, if you buy something new, you have to spend at least 5-10% of the cost to celebrate it. Religion is generally considered to be something for old, 55 plus, people only. Guess the country. Russia. Edit. Everything except religion part. Confusing. Freedom for cheese. We are outraged by EU and US importation law about our wonderful and so perfectly rotten, full of delicious bacteria cheese. Whole milk cheese. Unfortunately, most of the old ways of food production are being legislated out for health and safety reasons. Trying to find dry-aged beef these days is hard. Culture is very serious. In New Zealand, we have given land back to the natives that the Queen previously owned. We do the haka, traditional Maori war dance, before sports, and we sing our national anthem in both Maori and English every time. That's the way it should be done. Sweden, everyone who wants to stand still in an escalator goes to the right side of it, everyone that wants to walk past goes to the left. People will do this even if nobody is walking, but you stand on the right side or else. USA here, people in bigger cities know to do this. Rural folks tend not to. When you're in a place like DC or New York, you can tell who's from the country. The word C in the US is taken very seriously. If you call someone a C, conversation will stop, all actions will cease, and everyone will stare at your mouth agape. I think it'll be less shocking for people if you were to whip out your dong and get a BJ in public. Mad C is a compliment in Australia. True story. From Canada, maple syrup. You think it's just a joke, but my dad worked the maple syrup farms. People die. Also, we can keep the Canadian 1%'s pancakes moist. Uprising. In Iceland, we tend to build roads around stones that we think elves live in. This has sometimes caused roads to take very weird turns. US. N is an insult, marked by death. China, nigger means that and is said in every other sentence. Hilarity for the first week when my black friend landed. In Italy, most definitely pasta and food in general. Every kind of sauce must be paired only with a small set of very specific shapes of pasta. If you use the wrong kind, we may insult you heavily. Same goes if you break spaghetti before cooking them. If you roll them up using a spoon to support the fork. If you cut them with a knife. If you want to put something non-canonical. For example, if you want to put cheese on a fish-based sauce. Or even if you just mention the idea of putting ketchup on pasta. Or if you call a sauce with the wrong name. For example, bolognese, which does not exist. We call it ragu, ragu, and it never goes on spaghetti. Also, you will be classified as a weirdo or a foreigner if you drink a cappuccino after 11 in the morning. Don't mess with an Italian when food is on the line. Australians have a messed up concept of distance. Everything is just down the road. You live in Adelaide? Melbourne is 847 kilometers away by the freeway, but for us, that's just down the road. It's not technically a lie. You do only need to take one road from Adelaide to Melbourne. It's just a really long road. Admittedly, that example is a bit of a joke, but when I was in Europe I was always referring to things as not far or just down the road when apparently it was a completely unreasonable distance to be undertaking in a day. We're just so used to massive urban sprawl and low population density that it never occurs to us that cities can be compact, and that you might be able to reach the next city in less than 8 hours. English speakers tend to say I am cold when they are cold. So if we are learning German we automatically say ich bin kalt, which I guess means I'm frigid with the ladies or gay. Mir ist kalt I think is the correct way to say you are cold, but who cares? Everyone speaks English, and I'm gay anyway. Not talking your shoes off when you enter someone's house is considered rude and inconsiderate in Canada. I understand that a lot of places in the USA don't have that taboo. I guess we worry about others tracking snow in LOL. Country Australia here. Turning an empty schooner upside down at the bar means that you want to fight everyone in the building and think you can win. I am rural Australian, and what is this? This thread, right here. This thread is what I love about Reddit. I can do without the constant stream of Imgur posts. But, this topic, sharing significant cultural differences while highlighting commonality in humor. This is why I love Reddit. Thanks, Bahojalok. May you never run low on deodorant again. On Sundays you are only allowed to wash your car between 12 and 20 p.m. in Bavaria. Furthermore, you may only use the car wash of a gas station. The gas station needs a permit to offer the service. Welcome to Germany. That's because people are cleaning their greasy oil stains of their cars in their driveways and are polluting thousands of liters of fresh water in the process. Gas stations and the washing stations have a special drain filtration cleaning system that prevents this from happening. Same thing in France, for example. I'm late to the party unfortunately, but hopefully this will give a few people a giggle. I'm from Northern Ireland, which is the part with all the troubles and fighting between Catholic and Protestant. In at least one graveyard in Belfast there is a wall between the Catholic and Protestant graves which continues underground to make sure the dead Catholics and Protestants never have to associate with each other. Okay, I've told this story before but it bears repeating. Many years ago, during a semester break, I travelled to London to visit a friend who was studying at the London School of Economics. It was good to see Phil after so long, and we decided, rather than a carefully planned itinerary, 3 days of just winging it would be much more fun. So that was how I ended up coming this close to a bad beating. See, Phil and I were on a London bus headed back to his apartment after a day of sightseeing. It was a crowded bus, and we couldn't get seats together, so we ended up sitting about 3 rows apart. The bus was filled with immigrants, and was passing through several tough, working class neighborhoods, and that's when Phil yelled ahead to me and asked me what I wanted to do that night, a Friday night, to start off the weekend. I should mention at this point that the UK at the time, and London in particular, had been having a terrible time with skinheads. The popular skinhead pastime in those days was for them to hang about outside corner shops and convenience stores, and attack the immigrant Pakistani shopkeeper when he closed up for the night. Or they would wait in the dark outside pubs and attack the Pakistani patrons as they made their way home at night. The London skinheads had a term for this behavior. They called it Paki bashing. So on that London bus that afternoon, I had no idea that, when my friend Phil asked me what our plans were for the night, and I yelled back at him, I don't know, Phil, but if we're gonna have any fun this weekend, we have to start by hitting a Paki tonight, that I was stepping into a world of trouble. See, to a New Englander, Paki means something different. It is not a derogatory term for a person of Pakistani heritage. It's a slang expression that refers to a packet store, a store that sells wine and beer. I was suddenly surrounded by 8 or 10 young Pakistani men, grabbing my shirt and yelling in my face. I was completely bewildered. Why were these people so angry that I wanted to pick up a 6-pack or 2? My friend Phil, who'd been living in London for several years, immediately understood what happened and interceded on my behalf. I don't think they believed us, so we decided it to be in our best interest to get off at the next stop. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.